So now in translation of Luang Sawangh's Dhamma talk, I'll just speak in first person. This evening I'm going to give an offering of Dhamma to the Sangha that are gathered here, but all the lay people listening, pay attention as well. I've had the opportunity to come here to this continent of Australia for the Katina ceremony, and I started at the Katina ceremony at Bodhipala Monastery. That's the monastery of Ajahn Jnanadipo. So first of all I was in that monastery near Adelaide, and 1 week later I made my way to Sydney for another Katina festival at Bodhisattva Monastery. I remember that Yom Tu liked the Bodhipala Monastery very much, and I liked it a lot. And we were also impressed with the Bodhisattva Monastery, but nothing so much as coming here to Bodhiwana Monastery, which was like coming home, or like being in my own monastery. Because myself and Luang Kalyano go back a long way in training and practicing in Dhamma Vinaya together. As soon as I came here, I've been made welcome and I felt at ease. And yesterday I was taken on a trip around the monastery, where I can see how well developed the place is for practice and what a large and suitable place it is for practice. So you can definitely say that as far as the Sangha is concerned, living and practicing here, then all of you are in a monastery which is saaya, which the Buddha said, which meant it's a suitable place for practice, a place that's supportive for practice. It's a place that provides the kind of seclusion and moderation, the kind of life that you need as one gone forth. And so what is that like? Well, he explained it in 6 points. The first one is called Kochara Sapaya, and that means having a suitable place, having a suitable location, not so close to the cities and towns that things are too busy, too noisy, and too distracting, but not so far away that people can't come for the offering of alms food. And so we have that kind of suitability here, that kind of sapaya, that's Kochara Sapaya. The place is large, suitable place, but people aren't coming to disturb it. And that brings us to the second point of sapaya, which is called Pugala Sapaya. So we have the right people here, with the Sangha practicing here, and lay supporters visiting here, and they're the good people. We don't have bad people here. We're not overwhelmed with criminal activities or people that come in opposition to our living here. So with the right people here, we have that supportive condition of Pugala Sapaya. And then the third and fourth conditions of Sapaya is Akasa Sapaya and Awasa Sapaya, meaning that the place itself and the climate are naturally very suitable for practice. And you can see that we have that here with the beautiful natural environment, which is quiet and supportive, the right temperature, and it's suitable enough and comfortable enough that we can practice meditation. It's supportive for that. And on the material level, it's supported well. We call that ahara sapaya, just simply being supported by good food from all the lay supporters of the monastery from various different countries, whether they be people who've immigrated from various different countries, including Sri Lanka, Vietnam, India, and Thailand and Malaysia and so many other countries. So that means that with these food offerings that are given, it's not difficult for any monk that's living here just to choose the food that will suit their body, take what they need, and go on practicing to develop their meditation and cultivating the mind. But finally, the sixth and most important point is Dhamma Sapaya, which means that Dhamma is taught, practiced and realized here in this monastery. So Lumpo Kalyano is taking responsibility for those that come to practice here, whether ordained Sangha, bhikkhus and samaneras, or lay supporters, new and old. He's here and able to teach through his speech, through his example, and through his actions. So he also is the appropriate conduit for the Thai tradition, returning often to Thailand to maintain the connection and to give teachings back to us in Thailand. So all of this is for the sake of saying to all of the Sangha sitting here today, please make up your mind to really make the most of this opportunity to practice. When you think about it, we have all these supportive conditions that I've just explained, and so it's a rare opportunity and a complete opportunity where you have everything that you need to practice. You've been able to take that ordination of a bhikkhu in the Buddha Sasana, but actually just ordaining, just shaving the head and putting on the robes, it's not enough to truly be called Sangha and to really realize the meaning of the word Sangha. So what do you need to do until you can be really known as a noble Sangha? Well, reflect on those qualities of Sangha that we call Sangha Nusati. And think of those first four qualities. One is Supatipanno. Supatipanno means one that practices well. Practices well through one's actions of the body, and through speech, and through one's training of the mind. It's one who practices well. That's the way that we become Supatipanno, through the practice. That's the way that we become the noble Sangha. It's with our moral precepts and all the detailed practice that we call Kowat, of our daily practice and mindful practice. The second point is Ujjapatipanno, practicing directly, which means directly according to the way that Dhamma and Vinaya was taught by the Buddha. Not practicing in roundabout ways, but in ways that go straight to the cause of suffering and putting effort into that practice. And the third point, Nyayapatipanno. That means we're practicing for the sake of knowing, for the sake of realizing and understanding the Dhamma of the Buddha as it actually is. Doesn't mean we're practicing for the sake of just accumulating knowledge from books, as if we memorize all of those teachings and can explain them all the way up to Nibbana, that means we'll be liberated. It's not like that. It means that we practice for the sake of knowing for ourselves, knowing suffering, knowing the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and knowing that path, knowing that we've cultivated the path, that we're well practiced until we know the fulfillment of that path. 4. Samichipatipanno. Practice appropriately. To practice appropriately for being a member of Sangha. To practice until one's worthy of being called Sangha, worthy of respect, worthy of offerings, worthy of being loved by humans and by gods and angels alike. So may we all have that sense of self-respect and pride that comes from knowing we're practicing well. We can only know for ourselves, and we can only know that if it's true and we're really doing the practice. Bringing our mind back to the four focuses for our mindfulness: mindful of the body, mindful of feeling, mindful of the mind state, and mindful of all the Dhamma mind objects within the mind. If we live mindfully and in line with the principles of practice, then we live peacefully at ease. That's the way for living at ease for one gone forth, a peaceful one, a samana. Not the same kind of ease that they pursue in the world through the gratification of desires. So, way back in the time when Nopocha was still well and still active, I was a little child that came to the monastery. I was a temple boy and came to live in the monastery in Wapapong back in 1972, and then got the ordination, started to wear white the next year in 73. It was what was called an anagarika or a pakau, wearing the white clothes and living in the monastery. And the next year, 74, I was ordained as a novice, and then 5 years later, 1979, I might have the years wrong here, ordained as a monk. And ordaining as a monk, I set myself diligently toward the practice, learning the Patimokkha. Things were much more meagre in those days. We would have a daily meal, but there wasn't that much food, and we didn't have the support of the evening drink. Or if we did, it might come once a week, or it might be just half a cup once a week. But what maintained us was just living from one day to the next, knowing the time and place, knowing where we're meant to be, and knowing what we're meant to be doing. So at 3 o'clock, when the bell rang, we all came out and we all started sweeping together. Didn't matter whether one was a pakau or a novice or a monk. Didn't matter whether one was young or old, but one just started silently doing the chores. We would have to lift water out of the wells, we'd have to sweep the grounds of the monastery, and we need to sweep and mop the dwellings as well. And we would just work away together silently until it was all done, whether that was 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. And then after that we'd be showering and walking meditation before gathering together for sitting meditation and chanting in the evening. We had a simple way of life, and we maintained it just through our diligent effort, through making do with the requisites that we had. If we're camping in a mosquito net, then that mosquito net was one we made ourselves, just by getting the old thin rope cloth and joining them together to hang down around that umbrella tent. And that's the way we lived. We lived close together. We could all see what everyone else was doing. If you could see another monk, the monk next door to you was walking meditation and you weren't, then you would feel this sense of wholesome shame and fear of wrongdoing. And so you would also walk meditation. If you came late, everyone else was already there in the meeting and you arrived late, then you'd be too embarrassed to do it again. So this is the way that our practice and our sense of shame of falling into wrong ways support each other, and they help us to be really determined in the practice. And when we're determined in the practice, then we feel a wholesome sense of pride, and it's a wholesome sense of happiness. And then one knows one's got a refuge. When one continues practicing in that way, then all the good karma, residual good karma that one has, can come to fruit, and one's in the state of living with a real spiritual power, cultivating the spiritual perfections. I've been in the robes now for more than 50 years, since I was 10 years old, and people say you must have a lot of endurance to stay in robes that long, but really it's not like that. It's all gone by in a flash. Why? Because I've been living with the principles of Dhamma practice from day to day. I've been living with a sense of putting forth energy. I've been living with practicing moral precepts. I've been living with sila, with samadhi, and with panya. Or to sum it all up, you could say I've been living with the Dhamma. All of us here, sitting here, have a lot of merit. To have come here and ordained, then you already have good fortune. So make up your minds to make the most from your good fortune, and to develop your mind, make them fulfilled, and finish the work. You can only do it for yourself. You can only do it through the practice of the path, through perfecting the path of sila, samadhi, panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. So please take a lot of reassurance and motivation in your practice, and please continue that practice and make the most of your opportunity. Seek how far that opportunity can take you. Finally, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed my visit to Bodhipala, I've enjoyed my visit to Bodhisattva, and I'm very happy to be here in Bodhiwana Monastery. And I hope I have the merit to come here again in the future. So may all of the spiritual power of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and of Lompo Kalyana and all of the Sangha here, protect all of you, ordained and not ordained. Supporters of the Buddhist religion, may you continue to develop in Buddhism. May you be protected, and may you be well, may you be successful, every one of you. Sadhu.